My boyfriend forgot to mute himself during a Zoom lecture. More than 200 students ended up listening in on his date with a younger girl from our department. The next day, he was talking to me about marriage, while she smiled sweetly and asked me what I was getting her for her birthday. The entire year knew what had happened. Not a single person told them the mic had been on. Everyone became part of my quiet revenge. Chapter 1. It was the weekly problem-solving session led by the TA, a required Zoom lecture with more than 200 students logged in right on time. People were technically present, but hardly anyone was paying attention. My roommate and I were chatting off and on, half listening, half distracted. She asked when I was planning to marry Ryan. Soon, probably, I said. Maybe after the semester ends. Ryan and I had started dating freshman year. Now we were both in grad school, 6 years together. Our families had already met. My parents had their reservations about his background. He came from a small town in the south. His mother didn't work, and his father picked up odd jobs. They'd made it clear early on they couldn't offer much support. But Ryan himself was impressive, top grades, good-looking, confident. In front of my parents, he'd held my hand tightly and promised he'd take care of me for the rest of his life. My dad believed in judging a man by who he was, not where he came from. In the end, he gave his blessing. They offered to help with everything, the down payment, a wedding, even a car. All they wanted was for me to be happy with Ryan. After the semester? Then I'll start preparing for my godmother duties, my roommate teased. We were still joking around when she suddenly tapped her headset. I think Ryan forgot to mute. You should text him. I hurried over to my laptop. Sure enough, beneath the TA's voice explaining the assignment, I could hear Ryan humming, and the unmistakable sound of running water. The TA paused. Ryan, could you mute your mic? No response. He'd probably tossed his phone aside on silent. I picked up mine and called him. No answer. I was about to try again when a strange, unmistakable sound came through the speakers. My hand froze. My roommate's expression changed instantly. The TA stopped talking altogether. The entire Zoom chat fell silent. Meanwhile, my roommate's phone started buzzing nonstop. A few classmates had already started a private group chat. What the hell is going on? Ryan's got a lot of energy for the middle of the day. Wow, bold. Hey, they're practically engaged, aren't they? Someone immediately tagged my roommate. Anna's your roommate, right? Maybe, don't tell her. That kind of public humiliation would destroy anyone. Messages kept pouring into the group chat, one after another, more and more people being pulled in. Within minutes, the number had surged past 100. My roommate stared at me, frozen, not daring to say a word. Wait, this sounds like... That's not Anna, is it? What's going on? The noises from the audio had already stopped. Then a girl's sweet voice came through. So, who's better? Me, or Anna? Ryan answered immediately, his tone soft and indulgent. Obviously you. The chat went completely silent. No one had expected a twist like this. For a moment, everyone just listened, holding their breath. The TA was only a couple years older than us, a PhD student working under the professor. She had the authority to end the session immediately, but she didn't. I guessed she was just as stunned as everyone else. My hands and feet felt ice cold, yet my mind kept racing. I recognized the girl's voice. It was Chloe, one of the juniors I'd been closest to. She whined playfully, if you like me more, why are you still with her? Ryan laughed. What do you want me to do? Are you going to land me a job? Help me get ahead? She didn't sound bothered at all. She giggled. It's fine. Even if you get married, we can keep this going. I don't mind. But be careful, Chloe added. Don't get caught. I don't want things to get awkward with Anna. She's been so good to me. I told her I'd never even owned a designer bag, and she promised to get me one for my birthday. Ryan replied casually, you don't run into someone that easy to take advantage of every day. Chloe laughed. Ryan's the lucky one. Played his cards right, skipped at least 20 years of struggle. They laughed together. The group chat felt like a graveyard. I took a slow breath. Then another. As if pulling in more air could somehow steady me. I leaned toward my roommate and whispered, add me to the group. The moment my name appeared, the chat went silent again. After a few seconds, my closest friend finally typed, "Anna, are you okay?" "My boyfriend and his roommates all think Ryan's trash," she added. One of his roommates chimed in right after. "When Ryan gets back, we're beating the hell out of him. He's embarrassed all of us." The messages turned into a storm of insults. I typed calmly, "Could you please end the session?" The TA was in the chat. A few seconds later, the Zoom meeting was shut down. "Thank you, everyone. I'd appreciate it if we could all just pretend this never happened." My friends were panicking. "Anna, you're not seriously going to just let this slide, are you? You're only engaged." "Yes, it would hurt to walk away now, but it'll be worse if you marry him. There's no such thing as cheating once. It's once or it's forever." I pressed the voice message button and spoke quietly. "I'm not marrying him. But I'm not breaking up with him yet. Everything he's taken from me over the years, I'm going to make him pay it back. One piece at a time." Chapter 2. 10 minutes before the lecture was supposed to end, Ryan picked up his phone to check attendance and realized the Zoom session had already closed. He saw my missed call. He called me immediately. When I answered, I could hear the tension in his voice, the cautious probing beneath it. "Why'd class end early?" he asked. "And why were you calling me in the middle of it?" I kept my tone light. "The TA wasn't feeling well, so she ended it early." "Then why did you call?" "Nothing. Just wondering if you wanted to grab dinner after." I could hear him relax slightly, though not completely. "I've got an online assessment for my internship tonight. I'll take you out tomorrow, okay?" I pouted a little, soft and playful, then hung up. The truth was, that internship at a top investment firm? My dad had pulled strings to get him the interview. After he got off the phone with me, Ryan still wasn't satisfied. He messaged the TA. "Hope you're feeling better." He was testing her, testing whether I'd lied. But we'd already coordinated our story. She replied smoothly, "Much better after a nap. If you're stuck on anything, just message me." She forwarded me the conversation. He should feel reassured now. I stared at my phone and typed back, "No. Not yet." Ryan would go back to his dorm soon. He'd check with his roommates. I was sure of it. One of them happened to be dating one of my closest friends. He sent me a voice recording. Sure enough, the moment Ryan walked in, he asked, "There wasn't attendance today, right?" "Huh? No." The three of them kept gaming, reading, or half asleep, acting completely casual. As soon as Ryan left the room, they all snapped upright. "What a piece of trash. I'm not playing basketball with him anymore. Girls will think we're all the same." They performed perfectly. Ryan bought it. He believed nothing unusual had happened. If Ryan's guard was slipping, Chloe's was non-existent. She invited me to her birthday party. The reason was simple. She'd been eyeing my Chanel bag for weeks, stroking the leather, sighing about how she'd never owned anything designer. I'd softened and promised to get her one for her birthday. She invited me to her birthday party for one reason, to make sure I followed through on my promise. I agreed. Soon enough, Chloe's birthday arrived. She was the kind of girl who thrived on attention, the social center of any room. She'd invited half our year to celebrate with her. The night before the party, I asked Ryan, "I'm going to a junior's birthday tomorrow. Guests are allowed to bring a +1. Why don't you come with me?" He hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then his expression smoothed out. "It's your junior's party. I'd just be tagging along." "You've met her," I said lightly. "Chloe, from the cheer team. Really pretty." Ryan frowned, pretending to think. "Oh, right. I think I remember. Impressive acting." I almost laughed. He still tried to decline, so I let a hint of irritation slip into my voice. "Seriously? You can't even do this for me?" He hadn't gone through the internship interview yet. I'd already told him the executive overseeing it was a close family friend. At a moment like this, there was no way he'd risk upsetting me. Reluctantly, he agreed to come. On the day of Chloe's birthday, I walked in with Ryan on my arm and approached her. Classmates hovered around us, watching the three of us come face to face. It was probably the most dramatic scene they'd ever witnessed in college. Chloe beamed at me, her smile dripping with sweetness. "Anna. You made it. Did you bring my gift?" I smiled, and pushed Ryan gently toward her. "Right here." The room went silent. Both Chloe and Ryan froze. I took a moment to enjoy the flash of panic on their faces, then casually tapped Ryan's shoulder. What are you standing there for? You're holding the bag with her present. Ryan's face had gone pale, but he quickly recovered. He pulled a small Chanel bag from the shopping tote and handed it to Chloe. Anna talks about you all the time, he said, offering a polite, composed smile. Chloe's eyes lit up as she accepted it. Thank you. I've heard so much about you too. They must have thought their performance was flawless. Around us, people lowered their gazes, almost unable to watch. My roommate tugged me aside and whispered, "You actually bought her a Chanel?" I smiled. Fake. She let out a low whistle. No one's here to celebrate her birthday. They're all here for the show. She wasn't wrong. A modern campus melodrama, Chloe as the heroine, Ryan as the invisible leading man. Even though everyone tried to keep their curiosity in check, Ryan still sensed it. He leaned toward me and said, "Have you noticed how many girls keep looking at me?" Luckily, I was prepared. I smiled right back. Well, you do look especially handsome today. Ryan had always been confident in his charm, understandably so. He had a wealthy girlfriend who funded his lifestyle on one side, and on the other, a campus beauty willing to carry on a secret relationship with him. It was no wonder his ego had grown to impossible proportions. Sure enough, my compliment landed perfectly. He grinned and pulled me into his arms. With a boyfriend this handsome, you should be a little worried. If you don't treat me right, someone else might snatch me away. A guy standing nearby, halfway through a sip of his drink, nearly choked and sprayed it out. What's wrong with you? Ryan snapped, wiping at his shirt in irritation. Sorry, the guy said, barely holding back laughter as he hurried toward the restroom. Just, felt a little sick all of a sudden. Ryan watched him go, clearly annoyed, then turned back to me. You know, it's not just girls who compete with each other. Guys get jealous too. Of course they do. Every woman in the world is fighting for your affection. Every man in the world envies you. I ran 1,000 sarcastic comments through my head while keeping a gentle smile on my face. You're probably right. Once I'd finished humoring him, I stepped aside and quietly checked my phone. The group chat had exploded, hundreds of messages already. I've got the car waiting outside, one of my well-connected friends wrote. Lily, when's your cousin getting here? The TA asked. He's at the entrance, Lily replied. Perfect. Stick to the plan. The chat filled instantly with memes and excited reactions. Near the end of the party, I pulled Ryan away and left early. Later, when Chloe and the others came out of the restaurant, a luxury car nearly brushed past her. A tall, strikingly handsome guy stepped out, apologizing repeatedly and insisting on taking her to get checked out. Chloe wasn't hurt at all, but she climbed into the passenger seat without hesitation. You should have seen it, Lily told me later, shaking her head. The way she played fragile and innocent, we almost threw up watching. I smiled. That was just the opening act. Chapter 3. Of course, not everyone was such a good actor. Take the student council vice president Ryan reported to. When the midterm list of outstanding student leaders was announced, Ryan was shocked to find his name missing. He immediately went to confront her. She happened to be the TA's roommate and had already heard all about Ryan. She had a fiery temper, and when Ryan demanded to know why he hadn't made the list, she shot back without hesitation, outstanding leaders are supposed to have integrity. You don't qualify. The TA witnessed the exchange and messaged me in a panic. Oh my God, I couldn't stop her. Did she give everything away? Relax, I replied. How did Ryan react when he left? He was furious. Then we're fine. I smiled, completely certain. Sure enough, the first thing Ryan brought up when he met me for dinner that night was the vice president. She's just getting back at me, Ryan said bitterly, stabbing at his food. She chased me relentlessly last year. I turned her down, and now she's holding a grudge. Hey, Anna, aren't you close with the student council president? Could you talk to her? Tell her the vice president's abusing her position to target me. Getting that leadership recognition would have helped my resume a lot. I only got on her bad side because of you. Anna. I drifted off in thought. Snapped back by his voice, I immediately nodded in agreement. No problem. Just the day before, at the restaurant we always went to, the owner had quietly told me something strange. Every time I paid and left, Ryan would come back later and ask for a separate receipt. At first, I hadn't thought much of it. But when he brought up the student council, it clicked. Chloe's storyline would take time to reach its peak. In the meantime, I might as well start tightening the net around Ryan. I called the student council president right away. We'd taken an elective together and were genuinely close. After hearing me out, she simply laughed. Got it. The next day, at the full council meeting, she announced that several student leaders were suspected of misusing event funds and siphoning money. The issue, she said, would be investigated thoroughly. Ryan showed up outside my dorm later, pale-faced, grabbing my arm. What did you say to the president? I blinked innocently. I just asked her to look into the vice president. You know, if she'd take away your award just because you rejected her, she's probably abused her power in other ways too. It only makes sense to investigate. Ryan's face flushed, then drained of color. A week later, everything unraveled. He'd falsified expense reports and pocketed student council funds. The investigation dug it all up. He was removed from the council and formally disciplined by the university. While the official notice went out, the president and vice president were sitting in my family's private bar, drinking with me. I'm sorry, the vice president said. I did pursue him for a while. But I didn't really know people from your department, and Ryan always acted like he was single. I understood immediately. He must have hidden any photos of us from most of his social circles. I stopped contacting him as soon as I found out he had a girlfriend, she added. I patted her shoulder. Nothing to apologize for. The president grinned as she cracked open a bowl of salted peanuts. You two should toast. I raised my glass and clinked it with hers. Congratulations on dodging a terrible guy. She laughed. And congratulations to you, for getting rid of one soon. We drained our beers. Then she suddenly frowned. Hey, be careful. After everything that happened, do you think Ryan might lash out at you? Don't worry, I said calmly. After getting written up by student conduct and kicked out of the organization, he can't afford to cause any more problems. I let out a quiet, cold laugh. At this point, I'm the only person he can rely on. Chapter 4. Sure enough, Ryan didn't blame me at all. Instead, he became almost obedient. After all, his internship at a top investment firm was still firmly in my hands. After he was removed from the student council and publicly disciplined, the news spread across campus in no time. Ryan's reputation collapsed overnight. The girls who once admired him as a campus star disappeared just as quickly. He was miserable, and he desperately needed comfort from Chloe. Chloe did come looking for him. Ryan thought she was there to rekindle things between them. Instead, the first words out of her mouth were, I need a Hermes bag. Ryan was stunned. I wasn't. I'd already seen the message thread on his laptop. Everything was unfolding exactly as I'd planned. Ryan had once been charming, impressive. But now Chloe had found a better option. She was already getting close to that handsome guy with the luxury car, the one who'd appeared at her birthday. Ryan was, at the end of the day, just an ordinary guy with decent looks. That other guy looked like he'd stepped straight out of a TV drama, wealthy, confident, effortlessly charming. He'd told Chloe that even though he was young, he was already thinking about settling down and starting a family. I could guess exactly what was going through Chloe's mind. If she could lock him down, marry into his world, her life would change overnight. For that kind of opportunity, she'd be willing to do anything. The first time they met, she'd been carrying the fake Chanel bag I gave her. Naturally, he assumed she came from money. He kept telling her things like, I only buy Hermes for girls who already carry Hermes, and, my parents want me to marry within our circles. Then he invited her to dinner with his family. Said he'd told them he'd met someone special. They wanted to meet her in person. A chance like that, who wouldn't lose their mind over it? Chloe came to me first, acting cute, begging to borrow my clothes, my bags. But I already knew everything. I stayed firm and told her I didn't like lending my things out, no matter how she tried to persuade me. I could feel the resentment building in her. Revenge against me could wait. Saturday was tomorrow. She needed the full rich girl look tonight if she wanted to impress his family. So she turned to Ryan. Ryan sounded panicked. You want me to take Anna's bag? She'll notice. Chloe didn't care anymore. If you don't help me, I'll tell Anna everything. Then we'll see what happens to your job, your future, everything you've been counting on. Ryan wanted to snap at her, but he didn't dare. In the end, he muttered, I'll give you the apartment key. Go get it yourself. Ryan and I had been renting a place off campus. After the Zoom incident, I'd found every excuse possible to avoid him, and I hadn't stayed there in a long time. Ryan figured Chloe could borrow the things Friday night and return them by Sunday. I'd never know. So that Friday evening, Chloe used the key and walked straight into my closet. If I were her, I would have borrowed one dress. Chloe was far more greedy. A Chanel suit. Van Cleef earrings. A Cartier bracelet. A Hermes bag. Loaded down with luxury, she headed out, completely satisfied. And then, right outside the building, she ran straight into me. I was standing there with a few close friends when Lily spotted her first and blurted out, "Chloe? Oh, Chloe? And that bag in your hand, is that Hermes?" Another girl chimed in, playing along as she glanced dramatically at me. "Anna, don't you have the exact same one? And that outfit, didn't we pick that out together?" Chloe froze where she stood as I started walking toward her. I'd always known Chloe wasn't the brightest. I just hadn't realized she was this stupid. The moment she saw me approaching, her first instinct was to run. That was it. Nothing else needed to be said. There might have been room to explain things before, but the second she bolted, she'd branded herself a thief. Lily and I exchanged a look. We'd taken first and second place in the women's 100-meter dash at the university track meet. 30 seconds later, we'd blocked her at the exit, and Lily was already calling the police. Chapter 5. The total value of what Chloe had taken ran well into the 5 figures. There were witnesses. There was evidence. The case was clear. At the station, Chloe sobbed uncontrollably, insisting she'd only borrowed the items. She and Ryan had agreed on it. I called Ryan. He rushed over. I watched him quietly. After 6 years together, I genuinely wanted to see what he would choose. When I saw the expression on his face, carefully prepared innocence, carefully staged shock, something inside me went numb. He was worse than I'd imagined. He would rather push Chloe into the fire than risk getting burned himself. And sure enough, Ryan insisted his key had been stolen. He claimed he barely knew Chloe, had only met her a few times, and had no idea how any of this happened. Chloe snapped. "Ryan, what kind of person are you?" She turned to me, eyes red. "Anna. I've been with him since last year. He told me he was only with you for your money." Ryan's face drained of color. He stepped closer to me, his voice trembling. "Anna, is your junior losing her mind? I have no idea what she's talking about." One of the officers asked Chloe, "You're saying Ryan gave you the key? Do you have proof?" "Yes. Of course I do." Her hands shaking, Chloe unlocked her phone and opened their chat history. Then she froze. Her whole body trembled as she looked at Ryan. With a scream, she lunged at him. "You planned this. You told me to delete everything." 2 officers grabbed her before she could reach him. She collapsed, sobbing. I understood immediately. I could picture exactly what Ryan had told her. If she was getting serious with that wealthy guy, she'd better delete their old messages, just in case her future boyfriend ever saw them. From the moment Chloe threatened him and he agreed to give her the key, Ryan had already planned his escape. He was colder, more ruthless than I'd ever imagined. Now he looked at me with the most tender, innocent expression. "I've only ever loved you." I swallowed the nausea rising in my chest and smiled. "I believe you. Ryan, your reckoning is still coming." Chapter 6. I told the police I didn't want to press charges. But when we returned to campus, the university still opened a conduct investigation, and Chloe was expelled soon after. Rumor had it Ryan was the one who reported her arrest to the administration. He couldn't risk having her around. To him, she was a ticking time bomb. Of course, Chloe would never see her wealthy prince again either. The luxury car belonged to a friend of mine, and the rich heir himself was Lily's cousin, a theater major known for his looks. Chloe wasn't a good person. But I knew very well the worst one had always been Ryan. Yet at this moment, he showed no trace of that side. He treated me like royalty, attentive, careful, determined to prove himself the perfect boyfriend. The day he passed his internship interview, we went out to celebrate. After a few drinks, he grew emotional. "Anna, no one's ever been better to me than you." I looked at his utterly sincere expression and wavered for a second. Just 1 second. Instinct told me a wolf doesn't change its nature just because someone shows it kindness. Ryan proved that soon enough. We ended up interning at the same firm and were assigned to the same team. During orientation, a girl joined our group, someone whose presence stood out immediately. There was an ease about her, the kind that came from being raised with money. The interns had already figured out who she was, Victoria, the CEO's only daughter. Ryan had been sitting next to me at first. But when he noticed the empty seat beside Victoria, he excused himself to the restroom. When he came back, he casually took that spot instead. I let out a silent laugh and kept taking notes. Ryan looked down on Chloe, but in reality, he was no different from her, if anything, worse. After starting the internship, I threw myself into work, staying later than anyone else every day. Ryan's obvious attempts to charm Victoria, I pretended not to see. And Victoria, for her part, seemed intrigued. By the second week, whenever she ordered afternoon drinks for the team, she'd always ask Ryan if he wanted one too. Not long after, one of Ryan's roommates forwarded me a screenshot from their group chat. "Hard to believe how open things are these days," Ryan had written. "Even the boss's daughter is this forward." It sounded like a complaint on the surface. In reality, he was bragging. One of his roommates replied dryly, "She hasn't confessed her love or anything." Ryan shot back without hesitation. "Don't be jealous. If a grown woman adds you on social media, chats with you, and buys you drinks, you think she's looking for a pure friendship?" I nearly laughed reading it. When Victoria asked what kind of books he liked, Ryan said he didn't bother with anything shallow, he only read politics and economics. Victoria asked Ryan if he'd seen the latest blockbuster. Ryan said he never watched commercial films, he preferred obscure indie cinema. And I felt embarrassed that I'd ever liked someone this pretentious. It was obvious. With the CEO's daughter showing interest in him, the wound Chloe had left on his ego was already healing. He was starting to believe in himself again. He stopped putting effort into his work altogether. When our supervisor criticized him during team meetings, he'd panic for a moment, but he was already too far behind. He hadn't learned half the basics, and the piles of Excel sheets in front of him might as well have been written in another language. He asked if I could help with some of it. I immediately played the victim and said I was drowning in my own workload. By the final month of the internship, Ryan had practically given up. He showed up just to clock in, mostly to see Victoria. Every time I saw them laughing and messing around in the break room, I couldn't help thinking how out of place he looked, like someone trying to force his way into a world that was never meant for him. One Friday night, I changed out of my work clothes, put on a baseball cap and a mask, and went to a Japanese restaurant near the office. Victoria and Ryan were already there. I sat behind a partition a few tables away, sipping my drink, listening quietly. Ryan sounded anxious. "Wait, there's only one full-time offer?" Victoria lowered her voice. "Yeah, I heard it from my dad." "Don't tell anyone. There are 3 interns on our team," Ryan said. "If only one stays, are you taking it?" "Of course not," Victoria replied. "I'm just here to learn. The offer will go to either you or Anna." Ryan let out a breath. "That's good. Victoria, could you maybe talk to your dad?" "I could," she said, "but hiring decisions go through multiple approvals. And honestly, your performance and Anna's aren't even close." Ryan froze. What do you mean?" "Haven't you noticed?" she said gently. "When we're chatting or getting drinks, Anna's always working. I glanced at her data analysis the other day, it's almost finished." "Victoria, your dad. If your results were similar, I could ask him to help. But the gap's this big?" Even he couldn't justify it. Ryan fell silent. After a long pause, he said quietly, "I understand. Still, if you can, talk to him. I'll figure out the rest myself." He left. Once his footsteps faded, Victoria pushed the partition aside and slid into the seat across from me. Without ceremony, she picked up my chopsticks, grabbed a piece of salmon, and popped it into her mouth. "So? My acting, convincing enough?" I gave her a thumbs up. "I'm exhausted," she muttered between bites. "Being around him is disgusting. And I had to pretend I liked him." I rolled my eyes. "I had other plans for dealing with him. You're the one who insisted on getting involved the moment you heard we'd be interning at your dad's company. What was I supposed to do?" she shot back. "Watch my best friend get played by some jerk for 6 years and not step in?" She knocked back the rest of my sake in one gulp. "So, do you think Ryan's desperate enough to do something reckless?" I smiled. "Trust me. He will. He's the kind of person whose ambition is bigger than his reality. Watching someone else land a better job than him? That's worse than anything he can handle." With a conduct violation on his student record and his reputation shot on campus, any decent firm will hear about it through references alone. Who would want to hire him? This firm is his last chance. He got the internship through me, and now he's trying to secure a full-time offer through you. Women are just stepping stones to him, one after another, climbing his way up. There's no way he'll let himself fall at the last moment. That Saturday, Victoria came over to my place for dinner. Halfway through the meal, her phone rang. She picked up. A few seconds later, she looked straight at me. I calmly set down my utensils. I knew the plan had worked. Chapter 7. If your results are similar. That sentence from Victoria became Ryan's last lifeline. The deadline was Monday. There was no way he could produce months' worth of work in 2 days. There was only one option left. Make sure I didn't have my work either. All my data analysis files were stored on my personal laptop. If I submitted them Monday, the outcome would be obvious. But if those files disappeared, then everything would descend into chaos. And chaos, at the very least, would give Ryan room to maneuver. So on Saturday, when no one was in the office, Ryan slipped into the building and opened my computer. And was immediately tackled by security. Who was to blame? Ryan himself. During onboarding, he'd been too busy flirting with Victoria to pay attention. If he had listened, he would have known 2 things. First, all work produced during the internship, data, code, analysis, belonged to the company. Second, every workstation was under surveillance. And the files he tried to delete? I'd already backed them up. The company filed a lawsuit against him for damages. The amount was astronomical, enough to leave him completely overwhelmed. He tried turning to Victoria for help. She cut him off immediately, saying she wanted nothing to do with someone who would destroy what he couldn't have. She blocked him. Cornered, desperate, clinging to a final shred of hope. Ryan turned back to me. After all, I'd always seemed slow, soft, blindly trusting. He cried as he explained himself, saying he'd only meant to look at my files and had accidentally hit the delete command. We're getting married, he said, voice shaking. What's yours is mine, what's mine is yours. Whether you get the offer or I do, it's the same. Why would I ever try to hurt you? Tears streamed down his face. Anna, you have to believe me. Believe how much I love you. I have nothing left but you. I helped him to his feet. Your birthday's next week, I said gently. No matter what happens, let's celebrate that first. Chapter 8. Back when Ryan and I were still deeply in love, we had a couples account where we used to share little moments from our daily lives. Because we both attended a top university and were considered attractive, we'd once gained a bit of online attention as a model student couple. Our account had built up a decent following. Over the past few months, we hadn't posted anything, and fans kept leaving comments asking when we'd update again. So when I announced I'd be live streaming Ryan's birthday, the response was overwhelmingly excited. We held his birthday at the apartment we used to share. All the classmates we were close to were invited. I set up the live stream camera. Today is Ryan's 25th birthday. First of all, happy birthday. On this special day, I've prepared 3 gifts for him. Ryan's face lit up with anticipation. In the past, I'd given him designer suits, luxury cufflinks. He'd even hinted this year that he wanted a car. I turned on the projector. A flicker of disappointment crossed his eyes. Once, for his birthday, I'd spent 2 weeks editing together a video of our memories, our relationship from the beginning until now. Many of our friends had cried watching it. Ryan had been annoyed for days, calling it childish. Back then, I didn't understand why he hated it. Now I did. Because my sincerity meant nothing to him. To Ryan, gifts had long since stopped being meaningful. They were just tools, ways to squeeze money out of me. That was fine. Ryan, the gifts I prepared today, you'll never forget them. The projector came to life. The first birthday gift is called a chat history. On the screen appeared screenshots of Ryan bragging in his dorm group chat about Victoria being interested in him. Key details were blurred, but the smugness in every word was unmistakable. Anna, what are you doing? Ryan stared at me, stunned. I ignored him and pressed the remote. The second gift is called company footage. Don't worry. Each gift would be more explosive than the last. The surveillance video played across the screen. Everyone could see Ryan walking up to the workstation labeled with my name, logging into my computer, opening my files, and deleting them. I spoke softly, my voice edged with sorrow. Ryan, do you know something? I actually left you a way out. The password was your birthday. If you'd felt even a flicker of emotion while typing it in, if you thought about our 6 years together, you wouldn't have gone through with it. But you didn't. I guess you were too busy feeling clever, too busy thinking I was foolish. You didn't hesitate for a second when you deleted my work. Ryan lunged forward. He knew that if the live stream continued, his reputation would be destroyed. But I'd prepared for that. I'd warned everyone in advance. Two guys immediately stepped in and held him back. Ryan, I said calmly, I have a question. In the 6 years we were together, how many times did you cheat on me? The live stream camera hovered just a few feet away, the viewer count climbing by the second. Ryan clenched his jaw, still trying to fight his way out. No, Anna. I don't know why you're doing this to me. I already explained what happened at work, I didn't mean to do it. Even if you hate me, you don't have to humiliate me like this. I cut him off. Fine. Then please accept my final gift. With a mix of satisfaction and cold resolve, I pressed play. Online lecture recording. Pinned between two guys, Ryan looked briefly confused when he heard the words. Blank. Lost. The progress bar moved slowly across the screen. The TA's voice filled the room, steady, normal. He had no idea why I was showing this. He didn't even remember anymore. In his world, there had probably been countless moments like this, meeting other girls, getting away with it, never caught. That lecture had just been another ordinary incident, already erased from his memory. Then came the sound of running water. A shower. Ryan's face drained of color. He struggled violently, shouting, Anna. You knew all along. You've been playing me this whole time. Yes, I said, staring at him coldly. His face was twisted now, ugly, unrecognizable, nothing like the gentle, handsome boy I'd first fallen for. I knew. And I should thank you. Thank you for forgetting to mute that day. It showed me exactly who you are. Ryan kept screaming, wrenching himself free from the two guys holding him back. In a burst of rage, he grabbed a candle holder and hurled it at me. I stepped aside. It grazed past me and slammed into the wall. He stood there, breathing hard, an eerie smile spreading across his face. Anna, you ruined my life. I'll never let you go. Never. Like he'd snapped, he tore off his jacket and ran for the door. People rushed after him, afraid he'd do something worse. I followed. Ryan sprinted out of the complex, then turned back, screaming at me. I'll never let this go. You hear me? You'll pay for this. The next second, a car turning the corner hit him. His body was thrown into the air. Chapter 9. That live stream exploded across the internet. But in the age of constant news cycles, attention fades quickly. New stories replaced it, and the noise moved on. After graduation, I threw myself into work. Within 3 years, I'd earned 2 promotions, setting a record inside the company. My parents were proud. So were my friends. Later, I heard updates about Chloe. An acquaintance told me she'd been hanging around sketchy bars, drinking off whoever would pay. She'd even been beaten badly once. She'd tried to pressure a middle-aged businessman into buying her a new phone, and his wife showed up with people of her own. They showed me a photo of her. She was a year younger than me, but the smoking, the drinking, the heavy makeup, it had aged her badly. Ryan didn't die. He survived. But he now needed a wheelchair to move around. Maybe the head injury changed him. His mind never quite recovered. Every day, he wheeled himself through the streets. If a woman glanced at him, even just once, he would roll after her, asking if she liked him. When a friend told me all this, I simply said, whatever happens to him now has nothing to do with me. In this lifetime, we will all encounter disappointment, deception, betrayal, hurt. It's natural to want revenge. There's nothing wrong with that. But more important than revenge is beginning a new life. I still believe in love. I still have the courage to love. I understand the nature of the world more clearly now, and I still choose to cherish it. Lily's cousin has been finding excuses to take me out to dinner lately. The former campus heartthrob from the performing arts department is now a rising young actor, but around me, he's strangely careful, almost shy. He asked me when the wounds from love finally heal. And once they do, whether it's possible to step into a new relationship. I thought about it seriously before answering. Love itself has never hurt me. The people I met within love did. But bad people aren't a reason to blame love. As for when to start something new, I shrugged lightly. When the timing feels right, you just begin. Before I could finish, he shot to his feet. Wait here. 10 minutes later, he came running back with a huge bouquet of roses, his face as red as the petals. Then, how about we start now? I laughed. I still believe in the world's kindness. And I believe that even after all the dust and detours, we will eventually find our way home. At this point, my love life is a public service announcement. Free of charge.